Hey, Eric. How are you tonight?
I would yawn. Clearly, I'm tired.
We could start again. Oh, it's okay. It's late. It's late. It's late. And wow, I've spent a lot of hours in this chair.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
been some early mornings too. Earlier for you than me, but
it has been a week or so. Oh, me, oh my. So, how's your social distancing going? How's the isolation at home?
we haven't killed each other, so that's a plus.
That's good.
Um,
That is one standard.
but no, we're doing quite well. We get out and take a walk. For lunch today, my wife said, "Hey, we need to make a Target run
Okay.
because we have some cleaning supplies and a few other sundries that we needed for the house."
Mm-hmm.
So we went at lunch and we took our masks, our homemade masks, and we go into the store, and it started to strike me as interesting or odd about the mask choices that other individuals at the store had made. Only about
Mm-hmm.
30%, maybe a little over a third, somewhere in that neighborhood, of the people were wearing masks. I don't know what to say about this other than it was odd to me that there wasn't an obvious way to group the people who chose the mask versus who didn't choose the mask. When we came in the door, there were a couple security guards. One of the security guards had a mask, one didn't. As we walked around the store,
Interesting.
about half the Target employees had a mask and others didn't.
Not young, not old.
Yeah, it wasn't young, old. It wasn't, and then the rest of the people, the patrons, is that the right word at the store?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just weird. I don't know how to say it. You couldn't go, oh, well, that's clearly a cultural thing, or that's a gender thing, or that's an age thing, or, it wasn't an obvious income related thing, or
Huh.
you couldn't pinpoint the people who wore masks versus the people who didn't.
I think that maybe you're like somebody who has been without their senses for a long time, and then you're going and you're like hyper sensitive, and you're overwhelmed with, is that a match? No, that's not a match. That doesn't make my logic. My pattern recognition is failing me.
Yeah, exactly. It was frustrating to not be able to, at least mentally, I don't. That's not the right way to say it. To bucket people, but for a lot of other things, you can kind of go, well, there's a stereotype.
Yeah.
There was no stereotype. You couldn't look at the people who wear masks and go, oh, you're X. And I guess part of it was kind of, I threw in the notes the word heartwarming, although that's not the right word. It was kind of nice. I don't know what the right word is, right? There was a group of people who clearly had thought about, I don't want to, if I happen to have it, I don't want to spread it around to other people. And then there were people who either didn't think of that or chose not to do that.
Yeah.
And there was
a lot of clearly homemade masks.
Yes. That was the other thing. About half of them were homemade and half look like medical paper masks, at least today.
Yeah. I've got the medical masks at the moment, or shop is what I got them from.
Right.
But I was in Lowe's yesterday. I think yesterday. We had to go to the grocery store, and I was like, well, I need these two things from Lowe's, so why? And they're literally across the street. So, all right, ran in and did that, and actually got a few other. While I was there, I got a few other plants for the garden. So this is spring vegetable season for getting stuff in, and there's a lot of things that are just easier to get from a start than trying to grow from seeds. Mm-hmm. And like zucchini, for the love of gracious sakes, all you need is one zucchini plant. Nobody needs more than one zucchini plant. So anyway, so that's one of the things I did this past weekend was I did a lot of gardening. I feel bad because I also spent, let's see, I think I spent 6 hours or 7 hours spraying chemicals. And we hate chemicals. We don't have any in the garden. Like we try really hard not to use anything, but we planted these a couple of pastures last fall, and the grass just hasn't totally taken over yet, which it will. We gotta get it so the grass kind of takes and outcompetes everything else, and the grass will outcompete, given a chance. But a few weekends ago, I fertilized everything, and then the weather kind of took a turn for the worse, and now I needed to go in and take out all the broadleaf stuff that was growing, and hopefully that will be the last I have to do for many or any years. But I wound up spending a whole heck of a lot of time listening to podcasts and music. I probably listened to like 2 or 3 hours of Air Supply on Sunday. Because I ran out of podcasts, and
Air Supply was the first thing on the list because it starts with A.
I don't remember why it got in no, I probably heard something. I don't remember how it got on my list, but but yeah, that was pretty fun though. So I had a lot of thinking time on Sunday, which is good. And then the one other thing I was going to say about this weekend, because it was a long weekend. We had Friday off. Oh, it was Easter weekend. Oh yeah, I should ask you in a minute. Tell me what you did for Easter if you did something. I don't know what people did for Easter dinners because ours was leftovers. What did I say? Oh, on Friday I've kind of been spreading the love of bees. And I have 2 friends, one of whom I knew, and so I've been helping them buy their hives and stuff like that. And we're going to get their bees this coming weekend. But then another friend of mine kind of called me out of the blue a couple of weeks ago and was like, "Hey, my wife bought me this whole bee thing for Christmas, and can you help me out?" And so I invited them over. We socially distanced, and we had veils and everything else on Friday, and we went through my hives, 2 of them at least, and I showed them the ropes.
Right.
We looked at the brood and we found both queens, and so they got to kind of. I was a little cruel. I handed them a frame with 3,000 bees on it. I was like, "Can you see the queen?" And I was able to do that a couple of times, and because it's kind of tricky learning how to spot the queen, and
right.
But it was fun. It was good, and I think they were really happy about that. And come this next weekend, they'll both have their bees and be all set up, I hope. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
So what'd you do for Easter? Anything
for Easter? We have had a long. ever since I can remember, tradition of getting a honey baked ham from the honey baked ham store.
Ooh, an official one.
Yes, if you've ever been to the honey baked ham store.
Yes.
And so we don't have a big family, so we always you have to order it ahead of time, and we get the smallest one they have, and it's still way more ham than we can eat.
Challenge accepted.
We ordered the honey baked ham, went and picked it up. They had an interesting pickup process to do the whole social distancing thing, but picked up the ham, came home, and then we made a potato dish and ham, and I don't remember what our green was. I think it was green beans. So that was what we had. And then the kids, we used to have some other traditions around Easter eggs and candy and finding candy that the last couple of years, now that the kids are all teenagers and well into their teenage years,
yeah,
we now give them the option. Do you want to do it?
How about you just hand us the candy, Dad?
We'll set it up if you want to do it. Like, nah, we're good. So
that's funny.
But it was a pretty lazy weekend. It was nice.
Well, we still do Easter baskets, but the kids,
yeah.
it's we try not to not to have entirely candy in there, but you got to have there's like some favorites, you know.
Yes.
I really like peanut butter. So actually that was a topic of conversation Sunday night was, thank goodness you kids, neither of them are allergic to peanut butter, because what would we have done? I love peanut butter. And, you know, we have friends whose, you know, one of their children is like literally deathly allergic to peanut butter. And so, you know, no nuts in the classroom, no nuts in anything that we go, you know, we're careful and we're cautious and no, you know, nothing for picnics and nothing at potlucks and, you know, that kind of stuff, which we're totally in on, right? Who wants to be somebody that jeopardizes a child? But I love my peanut butter and thank goodness. So anyway, maybe that's not Thanksgiving, it's Easter, kind of the opposite end of the holidays, but I'm thankful that neither of my kids are allergic to peanut butter. Anyway, but so there's a bunch of candies that you know, we really like and don't normally get other than around Easter. Like the rest of the family, I don't really like them that much, but the Cadbury cream eggs are really a fan favorite.
I liked those as a kid. I don't think I've had one for years, but I remember those as a kid. That was the thing to get.
I've had one in some years ago, but no, thank you. Yeah. No. But there are other, like,
not your thing.
Yeah, no, not my thing. But yeah, stick a pepperoni stick in there though, and I'm all over it. No.
The Easter bunny pepperoni.
Exactly. Right. No, this is totally a thing. Yeah, it's true. My basket had my wife knows me, and it had beef jerky and pepperoni sticks, and that's what I like. Anyway, all right.
Well, should we?
Glad we had a good Easter. Yeah, let's begin the mostly follow-up episode.
Should we slide into follow-up? So I have a sort of a segue from family stuff to follow-up.
Okay.
So I had a family member, not an immediate family member, but I got a text message from an extended family member with a picture of an email scam. And it was saying, send us Bitcoin or we're going to release compromising videos of you. And you can know that we're telling you the truth because here's your password. And it was their password.
Okay.
And they were, am I really in trouble? What's going on? I'm like, well, no, it's a scam. Here's an article I wrote about it a year ago. Here's what you do. You know, we talked a little bit about using password managers, making sure you're not using the same password for all your different sites, and introduced them to haveibeenpwned.com and said, go here, throw your email address in there, and it'll tell you probably which site you had visited that had been breached that also gave up your password.
Uh-huh.
And set them off on changing all their passwords. So
one more person down, so 6 billion to go. But
yeah,
okay,
that's right. I looked up the episode. It was episode 57. We talked about that.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, January of 2019. So a year and a quarter ago.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
I have not got those calls in a year. Don't jinx me.
All right, sorry. I don't mean to jinx you. Don't mean to jinx you. Okay, well, you got a bunch of other stuff in here, but I threw one here about the Microsoft vulnerabilities we talked about a couple of weeks ago, like the font vulnerability and SMB Ghost. Those were both accidentally released early. Well, no, so the SMB Ghost was accidentally released early. So yesterday, so we're recording this on Wednesday, like we normally do, and yesterday was Patch Tuesday, and so the fixes for those were in yesterday's patch, and the link we'll put in here is to Krebs on Security. He had a little article that said, what's in here, but the thing that I thought was interesting pulling out of this were two little factoids. The first of which was that there were actually 113 fixes in yesterday's patch Tuesday, which is a lot. I guess I don't know for sure what the average is, but I think that I believe that is high. And then the other thing was that 19 of those, so I guess that's, under 20%, but again, I don't know what to aspire to from a statistics perspective, but 19 of them were assigned the critical rating, including the font manager and the SMB ghost ones. But so yesterday was a big patch day in the Microsoft world, and the ones that we talked about a couple of weeks ago are now fixed. So that was my follow-up.
Kind of like we can't go without a breach of the week. We can't go without a Zoom note of the week. There are some 2 0-day exploits currently, at least on the underground forums circulating, that are being offered for sale for, I think, $500,000 to buy a zero-day exploit.
Wow.
One on Windows and one on OS X. The Windows one is worse because it apparently is a remote code execution, meaning someone can then run pretty much whatever they want on your machine if you have Zoom installed. And then the Mac one is not a remote code execution, but it's still apparently enough to warrant some amount of money. So I think we're going to continue. Zoom is still in the news a lot because of the working from home and Zoom school and all the people trying to still stay connected using Zoom. There still is probably, again, for the vast majority of people, if you're using Zoom for school or you're using it just to hang out with the family, connect with family and friends, this is not a problem for you. I mean, it's never good to have something that can remote code, and exploit and run whatever. But if you're not a high value target, you're probably not at risk.
You should take those odds. Take those odds every day. Yeah. As you don't drive to work anymore.
That's right. So anyways, that was just my follow-up there is there continues to be a lot of press around Zoom and its security flaws. And my response to that still is average person, average user, you're probably not, probably don't need to worry about this.
And all software has flaws, speaking as a software developer.
Yeah, exactly. There is no such thing as non-buggy code.
Not even for NASA.
That's right. And then the other follow-up item that I had was, we talked last week about the researchers that had developed a way to do privacy tracing of someone who, a way to share data about who you've been near regarding coronavirus to see if you've been near someone who has been infected without giving up your GPS signals, without giving up some amount of privacy. So we had kind of talked about that last week. My opening here is way longer than it needs to be. I will cut it out. We'll also just link a quick article from The Verge about Google and Apple together, basically implementing essentially something very similar. Apple came out with a proposal. Google picked it up and said, I'm going to back it. So they're backing it as well. And they're going to push that out to iOS and Android phones.
I think that's fantastic.
To help people do that. Now, there's a lot of concerns over privacy, but I think the way that Apple has designed this and Google has joined in on this does maximize individual privacy. It doesn't capture your location. It just, were you in proximity of somebody else? And I think it's they have done a good job in weighing the balance between individual privacy and the need for data in a public health emergency, I think. So,
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, I think this is fantastic. Everyone who uses any app that has any sort of web component is giving way more data away than this,
right.
and this will allow essentially your phone to come up and bing you. I believe this is what they're working towards here. Your phone will come up and send you a notification that says, "Hey, by the way, 4 days ago you were near somebody who has now tested positive."
Right.
Boom.
You need to move into you need to go get tested, or you've now reached whatever criteria. You should better isolate
especially as testing becomes more available, which it's still not yet, as not to the level of testing people that aren't symptomatic. This will be a way to highlight people who should be tested, proactively. I mean, imagine the people you were in Target, everyone working in there, they are within 6 feet, I'm sure, of dozens at least, if not still, hundreds of people a day.
Exactly.
You know that they're at higher risk.
And 2/3 of them aren't wearing masks.
as you surveyed. I did watch a funny video on Twitter today of a guy that put a 2-meter hoop around him, basically like a 2-meter hula hoop. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
And then tried to walk the streets of Toronto. I think it was Toronto. And basically, the sidewalks are not wide enough to provide 6 feet distance. Not around, things that are on the sidewalk, whether it's poles, whether it's, construction stuff, whether it's, I feel like there was a couple of paper machines, like, buying newspapers. It was pretty funny. Half of the hoop was sticking out into traffic. The only place he could walk down the street was in the middle of the street in some places. And, it was quite a shtick, but it was good. It was pretty humorous.
Yeah, informative anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that actually reminds me of another thing. I didn't originally have it in follow-up here, but since we're talking about this, so not this weekend, but the following weekend, I had mentioned that previously that daughter number 1 has come home from college. Well, she's got an apartment that still has all her stuff in it. And the semester is now going to be over, and the university is not going to do spring or summer term in school either. So we have to go pick up all her equipment and get her out of her apartment and move her out of her apartment. And it happens to be in the state of Utah. And the state of Utah now is requiring that all travelers into Utah through airports or through the freeways to fill out a COVID-19 declaration at the border crossing.
Interesting.
Which I just saw that fly by in the news and wasn't really paying attention to it. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm going to Utah here in a couple of weeks.
That's for
I wonder
me.
what this is. So I dug into it and I found out basically what they have done. They've contracted or contacted all the cell phone companies. So it's by cell phone tower. So it's not like there's cameras sitting at the border crossing. But as soon as you get within a cell phone tower that should put you somewhere near one of those entry points in Utah, you'll get a text message that says, please go to this link. You have 3 hours to fill this out. That's what the law says. And and you can see what the form says online. It just says, hey, where are you coming from? What are you doing here? Are you visiting? Do you live here? How long are you going to be here? And have you tested for positive? Do you know when he was tested for positive? Do you have any of the symptoms? And, they're not going to kick anybody out. They're not going to tell them to go away, but if you answer, yes, I'm positive, and yes, I still feel sick, you're probably going to get somehow they're going to track you down and make sure you don't go running around, in the middle of downtown, I assume. But anyways, I thought that was another interesting thing that a state is doing that basically is going to say, you get close to our state, we have the technology to send you a cell phone ping saying, fill this out, and we know whether or not you will have because we have access to the cell phone towers. We know where you physically are roughly,
Right.
By location tracking. So
the QA part of me wants to test and wants to ask you to test, but maybe you should better not do this. So when you're like an hour away from the border, put your phone on airplane mode until you're like an hour past the border, and then turn it on.
I will be with daughter number 1. Maybe phone will happen
make her
to be...
violate the law.
Well, no, here's the thing too, though. I travel generally. I have 2 phones.
You look at you and your 2-phone. You're 2-phone person.
Yeah, I have an iPhone and an Android, and I have a work phone and a personal phone because I refuse.
You are church and state.
I am. So, maybe I will try that. I'll put the work phone in airplane mode until we get into the middle of the state, and then turn it on and see what happens.
Okay, your mission, should you choose to accept it,
I will have followed the law and filled it out properly on the other phone. And it even says, it's like, please do not try to fill out this form while driving. Wait till you get to a place to stop. Just here's a link. Go to this form, and the website we'll link to is the news station there. It has a link to the actual form you need to fill out, and it's it's very simple. So, anyways,
yeah, okay, and well, that will be curious.
There's a whole Q&A. What will I be stopped if I don't fill out the form? It's like, no, you're not going to be. But please follow our state laws and stay safe on the roads. We're not going to have any checkpoints. This is just an executive order. We're trying to stop a pandemic here, people. Please help.
Please help.
So, anyways.
All right. No, that's cool. That's good. I'll be very curious. So I guess it'll be a couple weeks before you can report back. But
I'll let you know what happens.
Hear what your experience is.
Yeah. All right.
Shall we do a topic?
Well,
like we said, mostly follow up.
Yeah. So this really isn't a topic. This is actually kind of more something fun. But
you could do something fun as a topic. I'll allow
it. There's a company called Snyk. Snyk. SNYK.
I guess I assumed it was Snyk, but
Snyk. Anyways, they have created a real-time vulnerability scanner for VSCode. So it's a plugin to VSCode that will scan your source code for vulnerabilities while you're typing in the code. And of course, it's for NPM packages, because why not? So
they have the most vulnerabilities.
That's really all I have to say about that one.
So
I have not tried it yet. I think I want to go install it and see how well it works, and if there's other types of things it can start scanning for.
Well, this is again so this is the evil part of me thinks, wow, that's a lot of metadata that they're going to get about people doing JavaScript programming around the world. Mm-hmm. Because in order to do that, they're going to have to, they basically have got a web service somewhere or
you do have to sign up for a free account with them.
Uh-huh. Okay. I didn't even realize you had to sign up for an account. So you get an account, which gives you probably an API key that you're going to hit the API. And, every time you type import whatever, they're going to send, here's the package in use. And it's not obvious to me how you could use that data, but I bet you could use that data.
It is kind of cool.
I was gonna say I think it's pretty good for them, and I've looked at them a couple of times and been interested and think that they're they've got a nice little niche. So in general, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I'll give you a entertaining tangent, or maybe not so entertaining.
Okay.
Snyk. Their company color is purple, and when I had my hair dyed purple a few weeks back, I was wearing their T-shirt.
I remembered that. Yes.
So
yes, very very good.
All right.
Yeah, they should get acquired by Datadog or something like that. They can be like the purple.
They could be sneaky dog.
Purple posse. I don't know. All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I may check it out myself as well. I don't know. I don't do a lot of Node stuff, but
I avoid it like the plague.
We know you do. Hey, I've noticed you've been having to write some JavaScript lately, though.
I know, it pains me. Although it is kind of cool. It pains me to say so, but some of the things you can now do with JavaScript libraries is kind of cool.
It is. All right. My topic this week was I thought this was semi follow-up, but I went and looked through our old episodes and I couldn't figure out where we talked about it. So I figured it's a real topic, which is the fact that ransomware has taken a turn for the worse in releasing documents that have they're not just encrypting in place, but exfiltrating the documents, and then if you don't pay the ransom, then they'll release them or sell them. So this is a piece of malware called Doppelpaymer, and I think the first time this particular variant was seen was back in December, but I thought that we had talked about this as the possibility, like at some point in time in the history of the show. But this is a company that is a parts maker for space and defense contractors and auto contractors, because in the list of released documents, at least, this is an article on TechCrunch, and they don't say specifically, for the most part, about what's in the documents, but there are folders with customer names, including Tesla, SpaceX, Boeing, and Lockheed Martin, all of whom are, presumably customers of the company, and that, the company had data exfiltrated from them, and when they refused to pay, that data is being sold on the black market or released publicly. So doxing, by the way, is it comes from document sharing, I guess, or something. I don't know what it's a shortening of, but it's I had to look up the definition because I thought I should make sure and at least say it, but it's the searching for and publishing private or identifying information about a particular individual or company on the internet, typically with malicious intent. So, if somebody were to steal a whole bunch of critical financial documents and then release them out on a public website, that's an example of doxing. So kind of the hack of Sony, a couple of years ago now at this point, where they stole the movies and released those publicly, doxing. That's the thing. So, ransomware, as again we've said on the show, and I think is a pretty common refrain around ransomware, is that it's a novel business model. Well, it was novel when it first started coming out, because payment systems allowed easy collection of payment from victims. And this is sort of the second order business model. So pay, or if you don't pay, well, instead of just losing out, maybe they have a second chance to make some money, but not cool.
Right.
Not cool, but yeah, I mean, it was a hypothetical, a year ago, and it's a reality today. So that's that. So you can go read the article, and there are a bunch of other articles about this as well. But there was a comment about a partial schematic for a missile antenna included in the documents. So maybe not something that you want out.
Right.
Uncool.
All right. Should we slide into something fun?
All right. Yep. Let's do something fun. What do you got for me?
All right. So I think I mentioned in the last few weeks as well, with earthquakes that have been happening, my boy has been more interested in looking at our Raspberry Shake. We have a Raspberry Shake that measures ground movement, earthquakes, And right now it is underneath the house in the crawl space underneath the front of the house on the foundation. And so,
Okay.
Jumping around in the house actually kind of we can make it move just by walking around in the house. And so I've always thought, well,
Okay.
it's got to be a better way to do this. I have a link. You can see a link to this. It is a shake vault. So a guy in
Okay.
California has basically listed out his vault, how he built the vault and how he ran power to it. And it's encased in concrete out in its own little space and completely not air sealed, but doing its best to make sure that the only way this thing moves is if there's an actual earthquake. So it's away from the house, away from the road. Anyways, dug in the ground. And I just thought it was kind of cool how he kind of explains how he built it, how it works, all the insulation and stuff that he had. And this is Vault 2.2, 2.0, 2.2, because the original one had started getting groundwater seeping up into it. So it was actually down in the water. So It was just it was down in the ground a little bit, buried a little bit down in the ground and watertight, but apparently it was not watertight enough. So he tried to fix it. And it is just full of pictures, and he's got, I guess that was Vault 2.0. Vault 3.0 is the one that he's now working on. It's way more involved than I am ever going to be with my little raspberry shake, but it's kind of cool. So that's my something fun. And
wow, I'm scrolling through this
the pictures.
The pictures.
Yeah.
Zowie.
Well, at the beginning of the article as well, it's got a link to his personal website, and he clearly is a weather nut because his personal website has where he lives. It's got all sorts of weather stats. I'm sure he's got several different weather stations. I think my boy aspires to be this guy. So
wow. Okay.
Anyways,
well that is cool, and that is fun. Okay, that's a total fun thing. That's fantastic. Okay, so my something fun tonight is link. I don't know. Did you look at this one?
I have not yet.
So this is a link. So this is a science one. No more COVIDs or anything at the moment. We got enough of that stuff already. This is 400-year-old Greenland shark is the longest living vertebrate that we know about. So
whoa.
The cool thing about this is how they calculated the age of these sharks. Because what they did was, hold on, I gotta find the place to remember. So they wanted a way to do this without killing the shark. But basically, and this is a little confusing because I thought initially in my first read through that the shark had been like a bycatch in a fishing vessel, but then it said that they had released later. So it was a little confusing because basically earlier in the article they're talking about the fact that they're catching. A lot of the times these sharks are caught up as a byproduct of.
Well, one of the pictures
fishing.
Does say a Greenland shark caught as bycatch.
Right, exactly. And they don't become sexually mature until they're 150 years old. And so, basically, if we take out, the whole middle of the species, that's really problematic. But we don't really know that much about it. But what they did is evidently in the shark eyes, it says the Greenland shark's eye lens is composed of a specialized material and contains proteins that are metabolically inert, which means after the proteins have been synthesized in the body, they're not renewed anymore. So they can basically take a sample of those proteins and use radiocarbon dating. Since those those proteins aren't refreshed, then they're subject to the same carbon decay that we see anywhere else that we can use to do carbon dating. And so they looked at 28 sharks. most of which had died after being caught in fishing nets as bycatch. So that was kind of a critical thing. So using this, they determined that the largest shark was extremely ancient. And then, so this was, which one was this one? Sorry, I'm looking for this particular one. This says that because radiocarbon dating does not produce exact dates, they believe she could have been as young as 272 or as old as 512, but most likely somewhere in the middle, about 400 years old. So born between the years of 1501 and 1744, but most likely date of birth was in the 17th century. So even at the lowest part of the uncertainty at 272 years, that would still be considered the longest living vertebrate. The other interesting thing in this that I just thought was cool too is that's the oldest living that we know of vertebrate, but the invertebrates, they say they know a 507-year-old clam called Ming.
Wow, I did not know things actually lived that old. I mean, I suppose I knew there are trees that are 1,000 years old.
1,000, yeah.
But wow.
Yeah. Anyway, this was my something fun. Huh. So there you go. I thought this was cool.
That is very cool.
And this, I forget when this article was. I saw it a while. Oh, this says it's from August 2016. So
well, there you go.
I don't know how it came back up in my feed, but so it's not new, but still cool.
It's 404 years old now.
There you go. That's funny.
All
right, man. Let's call it a show, shall we?
All right.
Be safe. Wash your hands. Take care of the family, and I hope everyone and their families are safe.
All righty, dude.
All right, sir.
We'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.